Please like and subscribe to the channel if you find this video interesting and useful. Give me more ideas you want me to make. Enjoy watching the video. The rhythmic thud of bass vibrated through the pristine walls of Ethan Cole's Soho apartment, a relentless assault on his meticulously ordered existence. At 31, Ethan was a spatial virtuoso, an interior designer whose portfolio graced the pages of Architectural Digest, yet whose daily life was a testament to his almost debilitating need for control. Every book on his minimalist shelves was alphabetized, every throw pillow angled with mathematical precision, every sound wave from the outside whirled an intrusion to be meticulously filtered out. He worked in solitary, preferring the silent hum of his own creative process to the cacophony of human interaction. And noise, noise was his personal anathema. It wasn't just an annoyance, it was a physical manifestation of chaos, a direct threat to the fragile ecosystem of his carefully constructed world. Just beyond that shared wall, a hurricane named Harper Lewis was in full swing. 27, a whirlwind of boundless energy, Harper was a contemporary dance instructor and a burgeoning TikTok sensation. Her apartment, a vibrant explosion of color and movement, mirrored her personality perfectly. Clothes were draped over exercise equipment, props for her latest viral video lay scattered across the floor, and a perpetual playlist of high-energy pop and hip-hop pulsed through her speakers. Harper lived for rhythm, for connection, for the spontaneous burst of creative expression that often manifested as loud music and enthusiastic dance routines. She was the antithesis of Ethan Cole, and their shared wall was less a boundary and more a battle line in an undeclared war. Their feud was legendary, a whispered tale among the building's concierge staff. The mere sound of the other's footsteps was enough to trigger an internal sigh, a fleeting desire to pack up and move to a remote, soundproof bunker. Ethan had a mental tally of Harper's noise violations, each thumping beat, each shouted instruction to her virtual students, each impromptu dance party, was logged with meticulous, simmering resentment. Harper, in turn, found Ethan's silent disapproval, his sharp knocks on the wall, and his even sharper glares in the hallway to be profoundly irritating. He was the human equivalent of a library's stern librarian, she thought, always shushing, always judging. One particularly tempestuous New York evening, the heavens opened, mirroring the rising storm inside Ethan. Harper, oblivious to the brewing atmospheric and interpersonal pressure, was mid-live stream, her apartment bathed in the glow of a ring light, her voice a confident, echoing guide for her online dance class. The thumping bass line of a new track threatened to dislodge a perfectly aligned art print from Ethan's wall. He snapped. The meticulous control he usually exerted over his emotions evaporated in a wave of pure, unadulterated exasperation. He strode out of his apartment, the crisp linen of his shirt barely containing the tremor of his irritation. 3 sharp knocks on Harper's door ignored. He knocked again, harder, his jaw set. The music simply grew louder, a defiant anthem. With a growl of frustration, Ethan bypassed the door entirely, remembering the shared access panel in the hallway for the building's electrical conduit. With a decisive, furious yank, he unplugged the main power strip that he knew fed Harper's entire entertainment setup. The music died abruptly, plunging Harper's apartment into a sudden, unsettling silence, save for the crackling static of her live stream and the indignant gasps of her virtual students. Harper, mid-pirouette, stumbled, her eyes widening in disbelief as the screen went black. Before she could process the sudden technological outage, her front door burst open. Ethan stood there, a silent, seething silhouette against the dim hallway light, the power strip clutched in his hand like a weapon. "Do you have any idea how loud that was?" he demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. "Ethan, what the hell?" Harper shrieked, her face a mask of outrage. "I was in the middle of a class. You just unplugged me. And you just violated every single piece and quiet clause in our building's lease agreement," he retorted, his voice rising, a rare crack in his usual composure. Just as Harper launched into a passionate, limb-flailing retort about artistic expression and personal freedom, a blinding flash of white light engulfed the entire building. A deafening crack ripped through the air, vibrating through the very foundations of the century-old structure. The air crackled with raw, untamed energy. A direct lightning strike. The world spun, then went dark. Both Ethan and Harper crumpled to the floor, their argument silenced, their consciousness extinguished. The following morning, a piercing, unholy shriek tore through the silence of Harper Lewis's usually boisterous apartment. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated horror, a sound that could only belong to Ethan Cole. He scrambled upright, his eyes wide with a terror that transcended even his most meticulously catalogued anxieties. He was lying on a plush, vibrant rug, surrounded by a chaotic explosion of dance clothes, glitter, and discarded energy drink cans. His hands, though, were not his. They were smaller, more delicate, with long, painted nails. He looked down at his body, clad in a neon-pink sports bra and sweat-soaked leggings. His usually sharp, angular face was replaced by Harper's expressive, high-cheekbone one. He touched his hair, a wild cascade of dark curls that framed a face utterly, definitively not his own. "No, no, no, no," Ethan shrieked, the sound strangely high-pitched and unfamiliar in this new throat. This is impossible. This can't be happening." He bolted towards the oversized mirror on Harper's wall, his movements clumsy, uncoordinated. Staring back at him was Harper's vibrant, energetic reflection, but the eyes, wide with panic and disgust, were undeniably Ethan's. His worst nightmare had come to life. He was trapped inside the very embodiment of everything he detested. Meanwhile, across the hall, a different kind of scream erupted from Ethan Cole's impeccably ordered apartment. Harper Lewis, or rather, the essence of Harper Lewis now inhabiting Ethan's body, sat bolt upright in a bed so perfectly made it looked like a display model. His eyes snapped open to the sterile white walls, the regimented rows of books, the agonizingly precise tick-tock of a grandfather clock in the corner. He was wearing striped silk pajamas, impeccably pressed and utterly devoid of personality. He felt constrained, stiff. He shot out of bed, his movements suddenly heavy, less fluid than he was used to. He stumbled towards the full-length mirror, his heart pounding in his chest. Staring back was Ethan Cole's stoic, perfectly coiffed image, but the wild, disbelieving eyes belonged solely to Harper. Her usually vibrant, expressive face was now replaced by Ethan's calm, somewhat severe features. The realization hit him like a physical blow. "I'm in that nerd's body?" Harper shrieked, her voice deeper, more resonant than her own, but laced with an unmistakable blend of horror and disbelief. "Oh my God, I'm wearing pajamas. And is that a pocket protector in the laundry basket?" He shuddered, feeling a phantom itch for a dance beat, a burst of energetic movement that this new, unfamiliar vessel seemed entirely incapable of. This is a nightmare. A structured, beige nightmare. Panic, raw and visceral, seized them both. They stumbled around their respective, but now occupied by the other, apartments, trying desperately to make sense of the impossible. Ethan, trapped in Harper's athletic frame, found himself tripping over her stray yoga mats, his elegant movements replaced by a clumsy flailing. Harper, in Ethan's more rigid body, felt an alien stiffness in her joints, a profound lack of her usual grace. They tried pinching themselves, splashing water on their faces, even shouting at the heavens, hoping to reverse the cosmic joke. But nothing worked. The bodies remained swapped, the souls irrevocably transposed. A muffled groan came from Harper, in Ethan's body. "This is insane. We have to fix this." Ethan, in Harper's body, nodded frantically, his mind racing, trying to apply logic to an illogical situation. "We need to understand how this happened. Lightning? Some sort of electrical surge." But understanding seemed a distant luxury. They were trapped. Trapped in each other's lives, forced to navigate worlds they not only didn't understand, but actively despised. The bi-comedy, as fate would have it, had just begun. The initial hysteria gave way to a chilling, undeniable reality. Ethan Cole was now Harper Lewis, and Harper Lewis was now Ethan Cole. The world, however, refused to acknowledge their predicament. Bills still needed to be paid, jobs still needed to be done, and the relentless rhythm of New York life continued its indifferent beat. There was no magic switch, no immediate reversal. They were stuck. This is impossible. Ethan, in Harper's body, paced Harper's vibrant, chaotic living room, his every step a hesitant, unfamiliar shuffle. His usual grace was replaced by an awkwardness that made him wince. He caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror, Harper's exuberant face contorted into a grimace of pure discomfort. My entire routine, my schedule, it's all meaningless now. And these leggings. He tugged at the neon fabric, feeling profoundly exposed. Across the hall, Harper, in Ethan's body, was having a similar meltdown, albeit with less visible panic and more simmering indignation. She glared at Ethan's immaculately organized desk, a phalanx of pens aligned by color, an ergonomic chair that felt like a straitjacket. Meaningless? My life is literally built on movement and expression, and I'm stuck in a body that feels like it's never done anything more strenuous than lift a teacup. She tried a small ply, but Ethan's joints protested with a stiff creak. And don't even get me started on these pajamas. They feel like they were designed by a Victorian librarian. After an hour of frantic, fruitless attempts to reverse the swap, ranging from recreating the lightning strike by shorting out a lamp, which only blew a fuse, to meditating in a desperate plea to the universe, which only resulted in more frustration, they realized the stark truth: they had to live each other's lives. For now, at least. Their first real test arrived with the morning schedule. Harper's phone, now Ethan's phone, buzzed with a reminder. 10 a.m. Advanced Contemporary Dance, Studio B. Ethan's blood ran cold. Ethan Cole, the man who considered a brisk walk to the coffee shop strenuous exercise, was expected to teach a dance class. A dance class. To 20 female students. No, absolutely not, Ethan, as Harper, declared, his voice trembling slightly. I cannot do this. I don't know the first thing about contemporary dance. My only experience with choreography is arranging throw pillows. Harper, as Ethan, snorted from across the hall, having called him on Harper's phone. Well, guess what, Mr. Interior Design? I have a client meeting at 11 a.m. with a major architectural firm for a multi-million-dollar office redesign. And I don't know a CD program from a TikTok filter. A grudging truce was formed, born of sheer desperation. They agreed to guide each other, moment by agonizing moment. Ethan, armed with Harper's phone and a rising sense of dread, made his way to Studio B. The sight that greeted him sent a fresh wave of panic through his system. 20 eager, athletic women in various stages of warm-up, all looking expectantly at Coach Harper. All right, ladies. Ethan, as Harper, tried to project Harper's usual infectious enthusiasm, but it came out sounding strained, almost polite. Let's get those muscles activated. He tried to mimic Harper's warm-up routine, vaguely remembering snippets from her loud videos. He bent and stretched awkwardly, his limbs feeling like foreign objects. After 5 minutes of increasingly desperate attempts to maintain Harper's athletic grace, disaster struck. During a particularly enthusiastic lunge, his knee gave out, sending him sprawling to the polished studio floor. The vibrant neon leggings, already stretched to their limit, ripped audibly at the knee. A ripple of suppressed giggles went through the class. One particularly brazen student, phone already out, began recording. Coach Harper, channeling her inner British gentleman, read the caption that would soon go viral on TikTok. Ethan, red-faced and mortified, wished the floor would swallow him whole. Meanwhile, Harper, as Ethan, was enduring her own special brand of hell. She arrived at Ethan's sleek, minimalist interior design firm, feeling utterly out of place in Ethan's tailored suit. The silence of the office was unnerving, broken only by the hushed whispers of designers hunched over their glowing screens. Her client meeting was with Mr. Sterling, a notoriously demanding real estate mogul. She sat down, heart pounding, facing a pristine conference table and a giant display screen. Mr. Cole, if you're ready, we can begin the presentation for the Sterling Tower lobby redesign, Ethan's assistant, a severe woman named Ms. Albright, stated, her eyes sharp. Harper, as Ethan, nodded, attempting to channel Ethan's calm professionalism. Right? Let's get this show on the road, babe, she chirped, a habit from her more casual world. The entire conference room went silent. Ms. Albright's jaw dropped. Mr. Sterling raised an eyebrow, a flicker of amusement in his usually stern eyes. Moving on, Harper quickly improvised, feeling a blush creep up Ethan's neck. She fumbled with the laptop, desperately trying to open the CAD software. She had zero experience with architectural drafting programs. When she finally managed to bring up a blank canvas, she stared at it, bewildered. The client is expecting the new conceptual renderings for the multi-level atrium, Ms. Albright prompted, her voice tight. Oh, right, renderings, Harper exclaimed. Thinking quickly, she decided to freestyle. Instead of precise lines and structural integrity, she started drawing sweeping, abstract curves, vibrant splashes of color. I call this flow state modernism. It's all about organic movement and the energy of the urban jungle, she declared, proudly presenting a design that looked less like a corporate lobby and more like a psychedelic music festival logo. Mr. Sterling stared at it, then back at Harper, a slow, disbelieving smile spreading across his face. He clearly thought Ethan had lost his mind. Over the next few days, their lives devolved into a constant, frantic stream of communication. Hundreds of texts flew back and forth. Desperate phone calls became their lifeline. Harper, how do I adjust the hips during a grand plie without tearing a ligament? Ethan, as Harper, would whisper into the phone from a locker room, sounding utterly miserable. Okay, Ethan, listen. It's about feeling the floor, the connection to the earth. And for God's sake, stop trying to dance like a robot. Harper, as Ethan, would retort, often from the quiet confines of Ethan's office, while trying to decipher a blueprint. Now tell me, what in the world is a soffit detail and why is it so important? Harper, the free spirit, found herself learning to appreciate Ethan's meticulous planning. He taught her how to live with intention, to control her impulses, to find a methodical approach to tasks she'd always tackled with spontaneous abandon. He walked her through the intricacies of project management, of client relations, of how to speak with authority even when she felt completely lost. Ethan, the recluse, was forced to confront his own physical limitations and emotional barriers. Harper, through their phone calls, patiently, sometimes exasperatedly, taught him how to feel his body, how to move with intuition, how to dance from the heart rather than from a calculated sequence of steps. She pushed him to connect with her students, to use her voice, to channel her inherent charisma, even when his own personality recoiled from it. Slowly, painstakingly, a strange understanding began to bloom. They weren't just living each other's lives, they were seeing the world through each other's eyes. Ethan, through Harper's body, began to feel the exhilaration of movement, the joy of connecting with an audience. Harper, through Ethan's body, started to appreciate the quiet satisfaction of a perfectly rendered design, the power of precise communication. The initial hostility began to melt, replaced by a grudging respect, and then something softer, something akin to empathy. They were still strangers, yet they were closer than ever before, bound by an extraordinary, impossible secret. They were learning not just about each other, but about themselves in the most profound way imaginable. Just breathe, Ethan. Harper, as Ethan, coached him one evening, her voice surprisingly gentle over the phone. Feel the music, don't overthink it. Let the body tell the story. Ethan, as Harper, exhausted but a little less terrified, sighed. Easier said than done when your body feels like it's trying to do the Macarena and the cha-cha slide at the same time. Despite himself, a small, genuine chuckle escaped him. It was the first time he'd truly laughed since the swap. And it was Harper's laugh, echoing in his own ears. He found it surprisingly pleasant. The initial shock and subsequent comedic chaos slowly began to give way to something more profound. Days blurred into a continuous exchange of panicked calls, whispered instructions, and shared moments of both triumph and utter humiliation. Ethan, in Harper's body, was slowly, grudgingly, finding a rhythm in the dance studio. He still lacked Harper's effortless fluidity, but his innate precision, once a hindrance, was now helping him execute certain moves with an almost clinical perfection. His students, initially bewildered by Coach Harper's sudden, stiff demeanor, were now intrigued by his new, intensely focused style. Hashtags like #ZenHarper and #CoachHarperGoesBallet began circulating, much to Ethan's silent chagrin and Harper's baffled amusement. Harper, in Ethan's body, meanwhile, was gradually conquering the intimidating world of interior design. She'd learned to navigate the labyrinthine complexities of CAD software, albeit with a flamboyant flair that often surprised Ethan's more conservative clients. Her flow-state modernism concept, initially met with polite skepticism, was now generating buzz. She'd managed to secure a multi-million-dollar contract by pitching it with such unbridled enthusiasm that Mr. Sterling, the real estate mogul, found himself reluctantly charmed. He still thought Ethan was eccentric, but undeniably captivating. Harper even found herself enjoying the quiet satisfaction of seeing a design vision come to life on a screen, a different kind of creative flow than she was used to. One evening, after another particularly harrowing day, Ethan had somehow managed to lead a hip-hop class with an interpretive dance sequence, and Harper had accidentally ordered neon pink office chairs for a corporate law firm. They were both utterly spent. They had fallen into a routine of debriefing over the phone each night, detailing the day's absurdities and offering moral support. "I swear, Harper, if I have to do one more body wave, I'm going to physically unravel," Ethan, as Harper, groaned, collapsing onto Harper's beanbag chair. "Try telling a client that their beige wall needs a pop of rebellious crimson," Ethan, Harper, as Ethan countered, massaging his temples. They looked at me like I'd suggested painting it with unicorn blood. Their conversation flowed easily now, a comfortable back and forth that would have been unimaginable just a week ago. They had become each other's confidants, their only window into the absurdity of their shared predicament. It was in one of these late-night phone calls that the first crack appeared in Ethan's carefully constructed facade. Harper, as Ethan, was sifting through Ethan's overflowing inbox, trying to locate an old client file. She stumbled upon a series of old emails, meticulously archived. They weren't related to interior design. They were from a ballet academy, dating back almost a decade. Curiosity piqued, Harper clicked one open. It was a glowing recommendation from a renowned ballet master, praising Ethan Cole's unparalleled grace, technical brilliance, and profound emotional depth. Harper froze. Ethan Cole? Ballet? Professional? She scrolled through more emails, finding old programs, photos of a younger, leaner Ethan in midair, a look of pure, unadulterated joy on his face. Then she found a more recent email, a cold, formal notification from a physical therapy clinic detailing a severe knee injury, a torn ACL, and the grim prognosis of a career-ending setback. The last email was a terse resignation from the ballet company, citing personal reasons. A profound silence fell over the phone line. Harper, as Ethan, felt a pang of something she hadn't expected, sympathy. She had always seen Ethan as the rigid, unfeeling nerd, a man who deliberately distanced himself from passion and emotion. But here, in the digital archives of his past, was evidence of a burning passion, a devastating loss. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice in his body surprisingly tender. I think I just found something in your emails." Ethan, as Harper, tensed, a sudden stiffness in his borrowed spine. "What did you find?" His voice was low, guarded. You were a ballet dancer," Harper stated, not a question, but a gentle revelation. "A professional one. You were amazing." Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken pain. Ethan, who had meticulously buried this part of his past, felt a tremor of old wounds resurfacing. "It was a long time ago," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "After the injury, I couldn't dance anymore. I lost the confidence. It felt like the music stopped." Harper, as Ethan, listened, her heart aching for him. She understood losing something you loved, something that defined you. She understood the crushing weight of a dream deferred. In that moment, the annoying neighbor dissolved, replaced by a complex, vulnerable human being. She began to realize that Ethan wasn't just some insufferable neat freak. He was a man who had been deeply hurt by life, a man who had retreated into order and control as a shield against the chaos of pain. This revelation changed everything. Their exchanges deepened. Harper started pushing Ethan not just to mimic her movements, but to find his own joy in them, subtly encouraging him to reconnect with the forgotten grace within him. She would play music he unexpectedly responded to, noticing how a classical piece would bring a flicker of his old self to the surface, even in Harper's body. Ethan, in turn, stopped seeing Harper as merely chaotic. He saw her unwavering resilience, her fierce optimism, her refusal to let anything dim her light. He realized her mess was simply the byproduct of a life lived fully, passionately, without the fear of imperfection that had paralyzed him. Then came the unexpected curveball, a plot twist that threw their already topsy-turvy lives into a new dimension of absurdity. Harper's agent called, bubbling with excitement. "Harper, darling, you've gone viral. Hashtag Coach Harper Goes Ballet is trending. A major fashion brand, Ephemeral Elegance, wants you to be the face of their new gender-neutral haute couture line." Ethan, in Harper's body, stared at the phone, utterly aghast. Gender-neutral? Haute couture? What does that even mean? It means, Harper, as Ethan explained with a delighted chuckle over the phone, they want you to model their clothes on a catwalk. Basically, they want Harper to embrace her masculine side in their new line. It's groundbreaking. Ethan was horrified. "I am not going to walk a runway as a woman wearing clothes that are gender-neutral. This is absurd." "Oh, come on, Ethan. Think of the exposure. The experience." "Besides," Harper teased, "you look good in my clothes, admit it." Reluctantly, agonizingly, Ethan agreed. He spent days under Harper's remote tutelage, learning how to walk with confidence, how to project an attitude, how to work the camera. He practiced in Harper's apartment, feeling utterly ridiculous. Yet, something shifted. As he donned the flowing fabrics, the avant-garde designs, a strange transformation occurred. He realized that the clothes, designed to blur gender lines, allowed him to express a hidden facet of himself, a fluidity he'd long suppressed. The night of the fashion show was a blur of flashing lights, thumping music, and a roaring crowd. Ethan, as Harper, backstage, was a bundle of nerves. "I can't do this, Harper," he whispered into the phone, his heart pounding. "I feel like a fraud." "You are not a fraud, Ethan." Harper, as Ethan said, her voice firm, encouraging. "You are embodying something beautiful. Remember what I taught you. Feel the music, let your body tell the story. And walk like you on the damn runway." Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped onto the catwalk. He moved with a precision born of his ballet training, yet with an unexpected, almost ethereal grace that captivated the audience. His gaze, usually guarded, now held a cool, enigmatic confidence. He carried the clothes with a quiet power, a sophisticated allure that was both distinctly Harper and undeniably Ethan. The crowd went wild. Hashtag Elegant Harper immediately shot to the top of trending topics, commentators praising her groundbreaking blend of masculine strength and feminine poise. Harper, as Ethan, watched the live stream on Ethan's laptop, a mixture of pride and a competitive pique stirring within her. He's doing better than me in my own body," she exclaimed, half annoyed, half impressed. Ethan, as Harper, glowing with an unfamiliar sense of accomplishment, called her immediately after the show. "Did you see it?" I did it." "I saw it," Harper, as Ethan said, a smile audible in her voice. "You were incredible, Ethan. Seriously. But you also made me look a little too elegant for my brand." Ethan chuckled, a genuine, joyful sound that surprised even himself. "Perhaps I just helped you see how beautiful you truly are, Harper. Inside and out." The air between them, across the phone lines, seemed to warm, crackling with a different kind of energy than the lightning that had started it all. They were no longer just helping each other survive, they were helping each other thrive, revealing new dimensions of themselves they hadn't known existed. The boundaries between their identities were blurring, and in that blurring, something entirely new was beginning to take shape. The success of the Ephemeral Elegance fashion show sent ripples through their bizarre, interconnected lives. Ethan, in Harper's body, found himself unexpectedly enjoying the limelight, the creative expression, and even the occasional paparazzi flash. His initial horror at being seen as Harper had morphed into a strange sense of liberation. He discovered a confidence he never knew he possessed, a fearless willingness to embrace the unconventional that Harper had always embodied. He was still Ethan, meticulous and precise, but now with a vibrant, expressive layer that felt both alien and strangely familiar. Harper, in Ethan's body, reveled in Ethan's newfound public persona. While a part of her was playfully miffed that he was doing so well in her body, another part swelled with genuine pride. She saw the quiet triumph in his eyes, even if they were her own, the subtle shift in his posture, the newfound lightness in his borrowed stride. Living Ethan's life had also given her a deeper appreciation for structure and calm. She found moments of unexpected peace in the quiet order of his apartment, a meditative quality to the precision of his design work. She even found herself enjoying the occasional classical music piece Ethan kept on his meticulously organized playlists, a stark contrast to her usual high-octane beats. Their nightly phone calls, once urgent necessity, had now become a cherished ritual. They weren't just exchanging information, they were sharing thoughts, fears, and even dreams. They discussed the complexities of their respective professions, finding surprising parallels between the architectural integrity of a building and the structural foundation of a dance routine, between the flow of interior space and the fluidity of movement. They laughed at their own blunders, celebrated their small victories, and provided a steady anchor in their bewildering reality. One particularly balmy evening, after a week that had seen Ethan, as Harper, teach a viral, elegant fusion dance class and Harper, as Ethan, close another significant design deal, they decided to meet. Not to try and reverse the swap again, they had almost given up on that, but simply to be together, in their swapped forms, in a neutral space. They chose the rooftop of their apartment building, a quiet sanctuary overlooking the twinkling expanse of Manhattan. Ethan, in Harper's body, arrived first, dressed in Harper's favorite oversized hoodie and a pair of comfortable joggers. He found a spot on a low wall, gazing out at the city lights, the usually overwhelming sensory input now feeling almost comforting. Harper, in Ethan's body, arrived a few minutes later, looking oddly formal in Ethan's crisp button-down shirt and tailored trousers, but with a mischievous glint in her eyes. She carried 2 steaming mugs of herbal tea, a concession to Ethan's preference over Harper's usual espresso martini. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the city's distant hum a gentle backdrop. The awkwardness of seeing each other in the wrong bodies had long faded, replaced by an odd sense of familiarity, almost intimacy. "It's strange, isn't it?" Harper, as Ethan, finally said, breaking the quiet. "Looking at the city, it feels different when you're not in your own skin. Like you're seeing it for the first time." Ethan, as Harper, nodded, sipping his tea. "I used to find this view overwhelming. Too much chaos. But now, it's beautiful. Like a massive, intricate dance." He paused, a wry smile playing on Harper's lips. "I think you're rubbing off on me, Louis." Harper, as Ethan, chuckled, a low, rumbling sound in Ethan's chest. "And you, Cole, are making me appreciate the subtle art of a perfectly placed throw pillow." Who knew? The conversation flowed easily, meandering from the absurdities of their days to deeper reflections on their lives before the swap. They talked about their childhoods, their dreams, their regrets. Ethan spoke, haltingly at first, about the crushing weight of expectation in the ballet world, the isolating nature of his pursuit of perfection, and the deep, silent shame he carried after his injury. Harper listened, truly listened, offering empathy and understanding. "You know, Harper," as Ethan said, her voice soft, "when I found those old ballet emails, I saw a different Ethan. Not the grumpy, silent neighbor. I saw someone who loved something so fiercely, it defined him. And then, it was gone." She reached out, his hand gently touching Ethan's, Harper's, arm. That's why you built so many walls, isn't it? To protect yourself from that kind of loss again. Ethan, as Harper, felt a lump form in his throat. No one had ever understood him quite like that. He had always believed his meticulous order was a strength, a way to navigate a chaotic world. Now, through Harper's eyes, he saw it as a cage he had built around himself. Then it was Harper's turn. She spoke about the relentless pressure of social media, the constant need to be on, to be performative, to always project an image of effortless joy, even when she felt exhausted or insecure. She spoke about the loneliness that could exist even in a crowd of thousands of followers, the ephemeral nature of online validation. Ethan, the silent observer, offered a perspective she hadn't considered. Your energy, Harper, Ethan, as Harper, mused, it's not just for the camera. It's genuine. It inspires people. And that's something real, something truly beautiful, no matter how many followers you have. He looked at her, him, a genuine warmth in his gaze. You don't need to perform for the world, Harper. You just need to be. A comfortable silence settled between them again, filled with the unspoken understanding that had grown between them. The city lights below seemed to shimmer, reflecting the quiet connection that had blossomed on the rooftop. Finally, Harper, as Ethan, turned to him, his expression thoughtful. If, by some miracle, we woke up tomorrow and everything was back to normal, she asked, her voice a soft whisper against the city sounds, what would you miss the most? Ethan, as Harper, looked out at the sprawling cityscape, a small, genuine smile gracing Harper's lips. He didn't hesitate. Your laughter, he said softly. In my head. Harper, as Ethan, blinked, a surprised warmth spreading through her chest. She hadn't expected that. It was a profound, intimate admission. He wasn't talking about her actual laughter, but the echoes of her joy, her energy, her vibrant spirit that had been rattling around in his usually quiet, orderly mind for weeks. They sat in silence once more, the city lights reflecting in their eyes. The wind whispered around them, carrying the distant strains of music, the faint honking of cabs. But in the quiet space they had created, surrounded by the towering marvels of Manhattan, something warm, something profound, was growing. It wasn't just friendship, it was a connection forged in chaos, tempered by understanding and illuminated by the shared vulnerability they had discovered within each other. The enemies by fate had become something else entirely, their lives intertwined in a way neither could have ever predicted. And the thought of returning to their separate, isolated lives suddenly felt less appealing than it once had. The rooftop conversation had been a turning point. The casual enmity that had defined their relationship was completely gone, replaced by a deep, almost tender understanding. They continued to navigate their swapped lives, but now with a shared purpose, a quiet camaraderie that permeated every phone call and every carefully worded text message. Ethan, in Harper's body, found himself embracing the physical demands of dance with a newfound determination, pushing through the discomfort to truly feel the music, guided by Harper's remote coaching. He even started choreographing small, experimental pieces for Harper's online followers, blending his classical precision with her contemporary flair, creating something uniquely his own, yet distinctly Harper. Harper, in Ethan's body, was thriving in the design world. The initial awkwardness had given way to a confident, albeit unorthodox, approach. She infused Ethan's minimalist aesthetic with unexpected bursts of color and organic forms, creating spaces that were both elegant and vibrant. Clients, initially hesitant, were now clamoring for Ethan Cole's unique vision. She learned to appreciate the methodical process of design, the satisfaction of turning a blueprint into a tangible, beautiful reality. She found a quiet joy in it, a different kind of performance than she was used to, but equally fulfilling. The more they inhabited each other's lives, the more they learned not just about the other person, but about the unspoken desires and untapped potential within themselves. Ethan, through Harper, was rediscovering the joy of physical expression, the liberation of movement that had been stolen by his injury. He was reconnecting with the dancer he once was, finding a new language for his passion. Harper, through Ethan, was discovering the power of stillness, the beauty of precision, and the profound impact of intentional, thoughtful creation. She was learning to channel her boundless energy into focused, impactful work. One afternoon, Harper, as Ethan, was going through some old boxes in Ethan's storage unit, looking for archived design samples. Tucked away in a dusty corner, she found a worn leather-bound journal. It wasn't a sketchbook or a design diary. It was filled with elegant, precise handwriting. It was a dance journal. Ethan's dance journal. Flipping through the pages, Harper, as Ethan, saw meticulously drawn diagrams of ballet steps, intricate choreographic notes, and emotional reflections on performances. But what truly caught her eye were the song lyrics scribbled in the margins, alongside complex rhythmic patterns. Ethan had been writing music, composing his own dance pieces, deeply personal and expressive. One particular piece, titled Fractured Serenade, had an entire section dedicated to a powerful, yearning contemporary ballet sequence, a fusion of styles that Harper instantly recognized as uniquely captivating. The lyrics spoke of loss, healing, and the hesitant rediscovery of grace. It was a raw, beautiful outpouring of emotion, unlike anything she had ever associated with the stoic Ethan Cole. Harper, as Ethan, felt a profound wave of understanding wash over her. This wasn't just a man who used to dance. This was a man whose soul was still deeply intertwined with movement and music. He had simply buried it, fearing the pain of resurrection. That evening, during their nightly call, Harper, as Ethan, brought it up cautiously. "Ethan," she began, her voice unusually soft, "I found your journal today. The one with the music and choreography." Ethan, as Harper, went utterly still on the other end of the line. A beat of silence stretched, heavy with unspoken vulnerability. You read it?" he finally managed, his voice barely a whisper, tinged with a deep, almost childlike embarrassment. "Just a little," Harper, as Ethan, reassured him. "Especially Fractured Serenade. It's beautiful, Ethan. Truly beautiful. It's you." Another silence, longer this time. "It was something I worked on after the injury," Ethan confessed, his voice laced with old pain. "A way to process it. But I never let anyone see it. It felt too raw, too incomplete." "It's not incomplete," Ethan, Harper, as Ethan, insisted. "It's a masterpiece waiting to be danced. And it's exactly the kind of piece you should perform." The suggestion hung in the air, audacious and terrifying. Perform again? Ethan hadn't truly danced on a stage since his accident, hadn't choreographed for anyone but himself in the solitude of his pain. The idea ignited a flicker of hope, but also a surge of old fears. Harper, as Ethan, sensed his hesitation. "Ethan," she continued, "you once told me I needed to feel the music. This piece is your music. And your body, my body now, is capable of telling that story. You just have to let it." The conversation shifted, but the seed was planted. Harper, with her relentless optimism and belief in authentic expression, slowly began to coax Ethan out of his self-imposed artistic exile. She would hum parts of Fractured Serenade over the phone, encouraging him to try specific movements, pushing him to explore the emotional landscape of the piece. Ethan, hesitant at first, found himself drawn back to the familiar, comforting language of his first love. In Harper's vibrant, resilient body, he began to feel a resurgence of strength, a whisper of his forgotten grace. Meanwhile, a significant event was looming in Harper's original calendar, the annual Soho Dance Showcase. It was a prestigious event, the biggest performance of Harper Lewis's year, a chance to truly shine and establish herself as a leading voice in the contemporary dance scene. This year, Harper had been chosen to headline, a culmination of her years of hard work and viral success. The pressure was immense. Harper, as Ethan, felt the weight of the expectation. "Ethan, the showcase is in 2 weeks," he said one night, the stress evident in his voice. "It's a huge deal for my career. I've been working on this routine for months. But I don't know if this body can pull it off." He gestured vaguely at Ethan's more rigid physique. "It's intricate, high energy. And I'm still not as fluid as I need to be." Ethan, as Harper, listened, a thoughtful expression on his borrowed face. He knew the significance of this performance for Harper. He also knew the limitations of his current physical form. And then, a truly audacious, terrifying idea sparked in his mind, fueled by Harper's courage and his own rediscovered passion. What if Ethan, as Harper, began, his voice surprisingly firm, "What if I dance it?" Harper, as Ethan, was silent, utterly stunned. "You? Ethan, you haven't performed in years. And in my body? It's a completely different style." "I know," Ethan, as Harper, replied, a newfound determination in his eyes. "But you've been teaching me. And I've been remembering." Besides, he added, a mischievous glint in Harper's eyes, who better to showcase Harper Lewis's greatest performance than the man who knows her heart and her body better than anyone right now? Harper, as Ethan, considered it, a slow smile spreading across her face. It was crazy. It was utterly insane. But it was also perfect. It was a leap of faith, a shared challenge that would push them both beyond their limits. It was a testament to how far they had come, from warring neighbors to unlikely partners in the most extraordinary dance of their lives. The stage was set, not just for Harper Lewis's greatest performance, but for Ethan Cole's triumphant and entirely unexpected return. The rhythm of their intertwined lives was leading them to a crescendo, a shared spotlight where everything would be revealed. The decision to have Ethan, in Harper's body, perform at the Soho Dance Showcase was both exhilarating and terrifying. It was a monumental risk, a defiant middle finger to the cruel hand of fate that had swapped their lives. The 2 weeks leading up to the showcase became an intense, round-the-clock training session, a masterclass in collaboration conducted almost entirely over phone calls and video chats. Harper, as Ethan, became Ethan's remote choreographer, pushing him to embody her signature moves, to channel her explosive energy. She patiently guided him through the complex contemporary routines, breaking down each sequence, focusing on the emotional narrative behind every jump and spin. "It's not just about the steps, Ethan," she would insist. "It's about the story. Your story now. Let my body tell it with your heart." She even dug out some of her old ballet technique books, knowing Ethan's background, and used those terms to bridge the gap between their styles. Ethan, in Harper's body, in turn, tapped into his rigorous ballet discipline. He spent hours in the studio, perfecting every line, every extension. He brought a precision and an almost ethereal grace to Harper's raw, powerful choreography, creating a unique fusion that neither of them could have achieved alone. He was rediscovering the sheer joy of movement, the intoxicating rhythm of a body perfectly attuned to music. His old ballet injury still twinged occasionally, a phantom pain, but the determination fueled by Harper's unwavering belief pushed him past it. He wasn't just dancing for Harper anymore. He was dancing for himself, reclaiming a part of his soul he thought was lost forever. During one particularly grueling rehearsal, Ethan, as Harper, was struggling with a complex lift, a signature move of Harper's that required immense core strength and fluid transitions. He stumbled, frustration mounting. "I can't do it, Harper," he gasped into the phone, sweat pouring down Harper's face. "This body, it just doesn't move like that for me." "Yes, it does, Ethan." Harper, as Ethan, countered, her voice firm. "Remember your pas de deux. It's about finding the center, connecting to the breath. Feel the partner. Even if that partner is just the air around you. And trust the body." She then gave him a detailed, almost anatomical breakdown of the muscle engagement, drawing on Ethan's scientific precision. "Engage the transverse abdominis. Imagine a string pulling you from the crown of your head, ground through your standing leg." Ethan listened, absorbed the instructions, and tried again. This time, with a deep breath and a surge of unexpected power, he executed the lift flawlessly, spinning and holding the pose with an astonishing blend of strength and artistry. A quiet gasp escaped him. He had done it. "See?" Harper, as Ethan, crowed from the other end of the line, beaming. "You've got this, Cole. You were always a dancer. You just forgot how to listen to the music." Beyond the dance, their daily lives continued their surreal trajectory. Harper, as Ethan, found herself subtly altering Ethan's wardrobe, adding pops of color and bolder accessories, making Ethan Cole less stern, more approachable. She even convinced him to host a small, intimate client gathering, a far cry from Ethan's usual solitary existence, where she charmed everyone with her wit and unexpected insights into design. Ethan, meanwhile, was slowly changing Harper's online persona. He posted thoughtful, introspective captions to her dance videos, sharing snippets of the creative process, adding a depth that resonated with her followers on a different level. Their individual transformations were palpable. Ethan was shedding his rigidity, embracing spontaneity and emotional expression. Harper was learning patience, precision, and finding a deeper connection to the artistry in her work. They were becoming more complete versions of themselves, shaped by the surprising influence of the other. The initial fear of being trapped in someone else's life had given way to a profound sense of gratitude for the lessons learned. The night of the Soho Dance Showcase arrived, a swirling vortex of nerves and excitement. The historic theater was packed, a vibrant mix of dance enthusiasts, industry professionals, and Harper's loyal online fans. Backstage, the atmosphere was electric. Ethan, in Harper's body, felt a familiar tremor of stage fright, a sensation he hadn't experienced in years. But this time, it was different. It wasn't the paralyzing fear of failure, but the thrilling anticipation of performance. Harper, as Ethan, was there, too, in the wings, a discreet presence among the stage crew. He had taken the day off from Ethan's firm, claiming a personal emergency, unable to miss this pivotal moment. She watched Ethan, her heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and immense pride. He was wearing the costume she had designed, a flowing, ethereal jumpsuit that allowed for maximum movement, yet shimmered with a subtle elegance that was all Ethan. "Are you ready, Cole?" Harper, as Ethan, whispered, stepping closer, his voice a low rumble. Ethan, as Harper, took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "As I'll ever be, Lewis," he replied, a small, determined smile on Harper's lips. "Just try not to judge my plies too harshly." Harper, as Ethan, grinned, a genuine, heartfelt expression that softened Ethan's usually serious face. "You'll be amazing. Remember, you're not just dancing my piece. You're dancing our piece. And your own." The lights dimmed. The opening notes of Harper's specially composed track filled the theater, a powerful, emotionally charged piece blending contemporary beats with surprising classical undertones, a deliberate nod to Ethan's past. Ethan, in Harper's body, stepped onto the stage, bathed in a single spotlight. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the music wash over him, channeling every lesson Harper had taught him, every memory of his own past, every emotion he had kept locked away. Then he moved. It was a performance unlike anything the Soho Dance Showcase had ever seen. Ethan danced with Harper's raw power and fluidity, but infused it with his own balletic precision, his elegant lines, his profound emotional depth. His movements told a story of struggle, loss, and, ultimately, triumphant rediscovery. He weaved complex contemporary sequences with unexpected flashes of classical ballet, creating a breathtaking fusion that was both innovative and deeply personal. The audience was mesmerized, silent except for the collective gasp at particularly astonishing leaps and turns. The energy in the room was palpable, a current of emotion that resonated with every single person. As the piece reached its emotional crescendo, Ethan, as Harper, executed a series of gravity-defying pirouettes, culminating in a powerful, grounded pose, his arms outstretched, his head tilted back, a silent scream of defiance and liberation. The final notes of the music faded into a profound, breathless silence. The entire theater seemed to hold its collective breath. Then, just as the first ripple of applause began to swell, a blinding flash of light erupted from the stage. A deafening crack echoed through the building, a familiar, terrifying sound. The second lightning strike. It hit the very spot where Ethan, as Harper, stood, sending a surge of raw, untamed energy through the stage. Both Ethan and Harper, in their respective bodies, were engulfed in the brilliant light, collapsing to the ground as darkness once again claimed them. The entire auditorium plunged into chaos, a mixture of gasps, screams, and concerned shouts, as the audience wondered what had just happened to Harper Lewis in her greatest moment of triumph. The world swam back into focus for Ethan, slowly, painfully. His head throbbed, a dull ache behind his eyes. He groaned, pushing himself up. The first thing he noticed was the quiet. Absolute, profound quiet, broken only by the distant sounds of city traffic. Not the chaotic clutter of Harper's apartment. He was in his own bed. His familiar, meticulously made bed, with its crisp white sheets and perfectly plumped pillows. He was wearing his striped silk pajamas, the ones he despised only weeks ago. He looked down at his hands. They were his own. Longer, more angular, with neatly trimmed nails. He scrambled to the mirror, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Staring back was his own face. Ethan Cole. The controlled expression, the sharp jawline, the familiar, dark eyes. He touched his face, a profound sense of disbelief washing over him. It was over. He was back. A wave of conflicting emotions surged through him, relief, overwhelming relief, but also a strange, unexpected pang of something akin to loss. He missed the effortless movement, the vibrant energy of Harper's body. He missed the freedom it had given him. But he was home. He was himself again. Across the hall, Harper woke with a gasp, her body jolting upright. Her head spun, her ears ringing with the phantom echo of applause and a deafening crack of thunder. She was in her own bed, amidst the familiar chaos of her studio apartment. She looked down at her hands, smaller, more expressive, with brightly painted nails. She rushed to her oversized mirror, her heart pounding. Her own face stared back. Harper Lewis. The wild curls, the bright, animated eyes, the infectious smile. "I'm back," she shrieked, a joyous, slightly tearful sound. She spun around, testing her limbs. Her body felt lighter, more fluid, perfectly attuned to her will. She stretched, then launched into a spontaneous pirouette, reveling in the familiar grace and power of her own form. The joy was intoxicating. The nightmare of being trapped in Ethan's stiff, methodical body was finally over. But then, as the initial euphoria began to subside, a wave of confusion hit her. Had it all been a dream? The intense training, the fashion show, the rooftop talks, the profound conversations with Ethan, the deep understanding that had blossomed between them, had it all been an elaborate, hyper-realistic hallucination brought on by the lightning strike? She remembered Ethan dancing her piece, the raw emotion, the breathtaking fusion of styles. It felt too real, too vivid to be a dream. But if it wasn't a dream, how could she prove it? She grabbed her phone, her fingers fumbling with the screen. She scrolled through her gallery, searching for any evidence, any lingering trace of the extraordinary weeks she had just lived. There were the usual dance videos, selfies, social media posts. Nothing from the showcase. No images of Ethan dancing in her body. The doubt crept in, a cold, unwelcome whisper. Maybe it was all a dream. Just as the thought began to solidify, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Ethan. Her heart leaped. She opened it, her breath catching in her throat. It was a video. A high-quality recording of the Soho Dance Showcase. The camera focused on the stage, capturing every powerful, elegant movement of Harper Lewis. But Harper knew. She knew it was Ethan. She saw the precision of his ballet background, the emotional depth in his gestures, the unique fusion he had created. It was breathtaking. And it was proof. Below the video, a message. "Thank you, Harper, for helping me dare to live again." Tears welled in Harper's eyes, hot and unexpected. It hadn't been a dream. Every lesson, every shared laugh, every vulnerable confession, every moment of growth, it was all real. And Ethan had remembered. He had acknowledged it, cherished it. He wasn't the silent, unfeeling neighbor anymore. He was the man who had found his dance again, and he was thanking her. A week passed, a strange blend of rediscovery and quiet reflection for both of them. Ethan, back in his own apartment, found that his meticulous order felt a little less confining. He still appreciated precision, but he found himself listening to music more often, letting a quiet rhythm permeate his once silent sanctuary. He even found himself smiling more often, a small, genuine curve of his lips. The ballet injury still existed, a physical scar, but the emotional wound felt healed. He had faced his past, embraced his passion, and found a renewed sense of purpose. Harper, back in her own body, felt a similar shift. Her apartment was still vibrant and energetic, but there was a new undercurrent of thoughtful intention. She found herself taking moments of quiet reflection, appreciating stillness in a way she never had before. Her dance, too, had evolved. She brought a new depth, a new emotional complexity to her choreography, infused with the lessons of control and precision she had learned from Ethan. Her online presence, while still vibrant, felt more authentic, less performative. She realized that truly living didn't mean being loud all the time. It meant being true to herself. They hadn't spoken since that text message. The silence was respectful, a space for them both to process the monumental shift in their lives. But as the week drew to a close, an unfamiliar longing began to stir in both their hearts. Their enemy by fate had become something far more significant. Then, one evening, a soft, familiar knock echoed through Harper's apartment. Not the impatient, sharp rap of the old Ethan Cole, but a gentle, almost hesitant tap. Harper's heart leaped. She walked to the door, a nervous excitement fluttering in her stomach. She opened it to see Ethan Cole standing there, in his own body, looking unmistakably like himself, but with a new lightness in his eyes. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, as usual, but it felt less rigid, more inviting. In his hand, he held a pair of well-worn, perfectly polished ballet slippers. "Harper," he began, his voice soft, a hint of vulnerability in it. "If you're still looking for someone to practice with, I think I need a dance partner." He held out the ballet shoes, a silent offering, an olive branch, a shared invitation. Harper's eyes welled up again, but this time with pure joy. She laughed, a bright, melodic sound that filled the hallway. "Only if you promise not to complain about my music," she challenged, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Ethan smiled, a genuine, easy smile that reached his eyes. "I can't promise that," he admitted, "but I can promise to learn how to dance to it. With you." He stepped across the threshold, into her vibrant, chaotic, now welcoming apartment. The city lights of New York twinkled outside, a silent witness to their reunion. The stage, it seemed, was still set. But this time, it was their own, shared stage, where two very different worlds had finally found their harmony. The apartment, once a battleground of noise and order, now became their rehearsal space. The ballet slippers found a new home beside Harper's vibrant jazz sneakers. The rhythmic thud of modern beats blended unexpectedly with the quiet grace of ballet movements. Ethan, in his own body, moved with a newfound fluidity and expression, guided by Harper's infectious energy. His past injury was no longer a barrier, but a story woven into his dance, adding depth and resilience. Harper, in turn, found herself seeking out Ethan's precision, his structured approach to technique, which refined her raw talent without stifling her spontaneity. Their dance was a beautiful, evolving dialogue between two once opposing worlds. Their shared journey quickly became a sensation. Harper, with Ethan's enthusiastic and surprisingly media-savvy support, began documenting their post-swap life. She uploaded videos of their combined dance routines, Ethan's elegant pirouettes melting into Harper's powerful floor work, a symphony of contrasting styles. They filmed snippets of Ethan meticulously organizing Harper's prop closet, and Harper attempting to modernize Ethan's minimalist furniture with a splash of unexpected color. The raw honesty and genuine affection that shone through their interactions resonated deeply with Harper's audience. Their strange swap story became a viral phenomenon. People were captivated by their unlikely connection, the transformation they had undergone, and the beautiful fusion of their individual talents. Hashtags like hashtag Ethan and Harper, hashtag Soho Swap, and hashtag Enemies to Encore topped trending lists. News outlets picked up their story, inviting them for interviews, eager to unravel the mystery of their unique partnership. They became reluctant celebrities, but their focus remained on the dance, on the connection they had forged, and on the quiet joy of their shared creative process. In one particularly popular video, they recreated their initial argument, but this time with a playful twist. Ethan would dramatically unplug the speaker, only for Harper to launch into an impromptu, silent interpretive dance, using her facial expressions and body language to protest, while Ethan would conduct her movements with exaggerated, precise gestures. The video, titled "The Day the Music Changed Everything," garnered millions of views and countless comments praising their chemistry and humor. One quiet evening, months after the lightning strike, Harper and Ethan sat on the plush sofa in Harper's living room. The apartment was still vibrant, but now with a comfortable lived-in feel, a subtle blend of their two aesthetics. Ethan had even contributed a few perfectly arranged succulents and a framed piece of abstract art, which Harper had surprisingly grown to love. They were rewatching the old clip from Harper's TikTok, the very video that had captured their initial, furious confrontation over the loud music. The clip showed a younger, more rigid Ethan, his face contorted in anger as he unplugged Harper's speaker. Harper, mid-dance, looked utterly outraged, her hands on her hips, ready for a verbal sparring match. They watched it with a shared fondness, a gentle smile on both their faces. Then, at the exact moment Ethan unplugged the speaker in the video, both Harper and Ethan in the present burst into laughter. It was a genuine, unrestrained sound, echoing in the now harmonious apartment. Ethan turned to Harper, his eyes twinkling. "You know," he said, his voice soft, thoughtful, "if that lightning bolt hadn't struck that night, I probably never would have dared to love you." Harper leaned her head on his shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling with affection and mischief. "Well then," she said, squeezing his hand gently, "thank goodness for Mother Nature, huh?" A beat of comfortable silence, then the distinct sound of a distant rumble. A faint flash of light flickered across the Manhattan skyline. They both looked up, then back at each other. Ethan raised an eyebrow playfully. "Think that's a sign for another encore, Lewis?" Harper grinned, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Only if we get to choreograph it together, Cole." She reached for the remote, and with a click, their favorite collaborative playlist began to play, a blend of classical symphony and vibrant pop. As the music filled the apartment, they rose, taking each other's hands. On the backdrop of the New York skyline, gleaming with a million lights, they began to dance, not as individuals, not as enemies, but as partners, their movements a perfect, flowing harmony. The small apartment, once a battlefield, had become their stage, a testament to the extraordinary love story sparked by a single, fateful lightning bolt.